getting that degree opened a lot of different doors for her, because I know she's worked at a few different corporations. Wouldn't have been so easy for her to get into them corporations without the degree, to be able to transfer. I mean, she was in a couple and she decided this isn't working, and she was able to open the door and go into another, and that didn't work another. So she got into a couple of them without it. I've seen other people who can't hardly get in ground one. So it does pay off that way as well. Annette, you went to Fisk and Howard. Tell us the difference in the two.
So, Fisk was my treatment was between Fisk and Spellman, and I decided on Fisk because I went down there during their homecoming week to visit, and it was just a small campus, and everybody was so friendly and like, oh yeah, you'll love it here, and so it just felt like a family. And when I went down there, it felt like a family. When I was visiting, the president of the university gave me a tour around the campus, and I don't think that happens at other HBCUs because it's so small. The buildings were a little run down, and I was just like, why are they so run down? Because they had been set on fire so many times. This is the oldest university in Nashville, founded in 1866, Fisk is a center of the civil rights movement. A lot of things have, SNCC was founded on Fisk University's campus. So a lot of things happen at Fisk, and there was just so much history there. I enjoyed knowing everyone on my campus. I tell people when I do the college fair events, if you're going to school for a party school, then I wouldn't advise you go to Fisk because you'll be a little bored. But I wasn't going there for that reason, and I still had a social life. Tennessee State University was down the street. I could go down there anytime I wanted to, or off campus. But everybody there was on a mission, and you could see the way people walked. They were all just on a mission. It was just beautiful. Going to Howard University, I had the most amazing professors at Howard University, and but I went for my master's degree, and I lived on campus, but I basically saw the cafeteria and the library because that's how demanding it was. So I got my master's degree from Howard, but I didn't really get to participate in a lot of the campus life. But I know that it's really huge there. I know that the parties are there, and it's a lot more live, and it's huge. And there were people there that I've met here in Minnesota that were there the same time as I was, and I never met them. And that would have never happened at Fisk. So if I were to compare the two, it just depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for the big scene, Howard is a great choice. They have very good professors, very good in law and medicine. Fisk University, I do want to say, because you're talking about skipping the years and how you can save money, that's one of the reasons that brought me to Fisk, is because I was going for bio pre-med, and they have a program still to this day that if you go into med school, Meharry Medical College, which is the HBCU medical college, you could go there at the same time as you're attending Fisk, so you save money that way. So, so you can go get your PSEO, and then go to Fisk, and then, go to Meharry and go to Clark. Get everything done. So, yes, I love both colleges. I just love everything about the HBCU experience. My husband, he's in the back. I met him, and we both connected on that level because he went to Benedict College, and my brothers attended, one attended FAMU, graduated, and one attended Tuskegee and American Baptist College and graduated. So HBCU is in our blood, and that's why my mom, Joanne Clark, was inspired to do this college tour trip way back 14 years ago, because she was like, well, I gotta give back. All three of my kids graduated from HBCU, so let me push this agenda.
Okay. This is really more of someone, I guess, has experiences, so you can just kind of, I got a few here for you because they're really interested in this PSEO. But the one person was saying that all HBCUs will accept class credits from PSEO. Is that correct? Do you know?
To my knowledge, yeah. And I know definitely they're transferable in any state college. Oh, I don't think I'm holding this iron up, sorry. Yeah, they're transferable in any state college, and most private schools as well. I know FIS takes it, but yeah, to my knowledge, yes.
Okay, and then I think you answered this question, but it's a little slightly different. Because I think the question was, is there any other, well, let me just ask this question. Are there programs across the country that are similar, to your knowledge, of the PSEO that will offer the same opportunity?
I know exactly like Minnesota's PSEO program. Ohio has one, but I can't tell you about other states, their similarities, really. So I know Ohio, if anyone's thinking of going to Cleveland.
Right, maybe they can Google something that they're looking for specifically that may pop up. Is that a recommendation you might
Yeah,
make?
probably just search PSEO and then the state, or dual credit, or concurrent enrollment.
And any of them will help them to know. So if you got a specific city you're looking at heading towards, that's one of the ways you can find out if they offer that. Or if you've got somebody that lives there that you're trying to help out. So the next question is to you, Aaliyah. Is it too late as a junior to sign up for a full-time PSEO?
No, it's not. Definitely not. Like this is a great time to do it. So their deadline is probably in a week or two. So all you have to do is like look at University of Minnesota PSEO, and they have a whole book. I have information too. Whoever asked that question, just hit me up in the back. And with most technical schools, they go until the end of the school year. So you have a lot of time left. And if you're interested, I would definitely suggest a good way to save money. And like, if you don't know what you want to do, it's a good way to figure out what. So when I first started at the U, I wanted to do neuroscience. And then I switched to sociology, and then I switched to psychology, and then I switched to political science, which is what I stayed at. And so PSEO allows you to, while you're in high school, you have the time to take a bunch of different courses and figure out what you like and what you don't like. So if you're a junior and you're considering like, I'm stuck between two possible majors, I definitely suggest it.
And especially since you'll have to pay for trying to make up your mind. It can't get any better. I don't even see where it would be an option. I don't even see why it's an option. I just don't understand that. Everybody should that should be an automatic.
Right.
But the next question is, and it's for all three of you, so we can start with you, Aaliyah, since you got the mic still. The question is, what are the best and worst experiences you've had attending the University of Minnesota? Then the next two, I'll just say, as you pass the mic down, it would be to the school that you're going to. This is the U.
Oh, man. I didn't even think of that. So I guess I think when I was an undergrad, I started when I was 15, so at the U. So I really couldn't do anything. And so I think that was really the worst experience. Like, you'd have friends who were like, oh, let's go to Sally's, or oh, let's go to this club. It's like, well, I'm 15, guys, like, I can't, oh, let's go out to this party, or there's people drinking, and you're like, yeah, I'm 16, like, I can't do that. So that was really bad. When I was in grad school, I turned 21 the last year of grad school, so it was like, so like, I finally got to enjoy the college experience. So I guess it's, a bad thing with PSEO is that you're so young and other people don't know how young you are. But obviously you will grow up and you'll have time. So I think the best part was grad school, and I had great professors. My favorite professor was Dr. Myers. He was my favorite and my least favorite. I also was his research assistant. He actually went to Morehouse. He was a slave driver. He was hard, but you learned so much. And I guess another thing that I wish I had known when I went to grad school is being intentional about what you want to do. I really didn't have a plan. I was like, I'm 19, I have time, let's get a master's. And if I were to go back to grad school, I'd really want to push myself and be like, this is exactly what I want to do. I want to only take these types of courses that help me build different types of skills too. So I think I wish I had, a better counselor or someone who really explain to me, this is what grad school is like, or this is what undergrad, so you can actually gain the skills that you will need in your future profession. rather than I was really just kind of winging it.
So is there any way, just with that being said, then, is there any way you would recommend now that you know what you know, because there's still them counselors that aren't out there teaching and helping do nothing. And there's still students that are going to come behind you that are going to have the same experience. So what would you suggest and recommend that they do that's going to help them along their journey in higher education so that they can really horn in on what they're trying to do? Where would they go to get that kind of advice and help?
So I would suggest getting a faculty advisor, or someone in your I guess your field that you want to, or someone you admire, or someone who's close to the study that you want to go to, and you say, hey, I want to be in charter school authorizing. What does that look like? And make those connections with those people, and those people, especially if they are experts in their field, they say, hey, who you should speak to? You should speak to this authorizer. Or, hey, I know Pillsbury is an authorizer. Here, talk to them. Here, shadow these people. A lot of what I got out of grad school was through those conversations. Those real life fellowships and those real life meeting with people, informational interviews, all those things that just by going to a counselor, they're not really going to give you. So my suggestion is definitely get a faculty advisor. Definitely meet with your faculty, especially if their interests are comparable to yours, because they went before you, they know what the landscape is, they have those connections, so really rely on those connections.
Okay.
The best experience at Fisk University was just connecting with other like-minded individuals and just my professors, and still to this day having that relationship with everyone, and just and I think probably my worst experience is probably me being from Minnesota and going to predominantly white school and going down to Fisk and being so excited, and the first thing that you see is, oh, there's so many black people, and then a few months later you're like, there's so many black people. So that was, I really wish that somebody would have just kind of gave me a heads up that. And I mean, it was a beautiful thing. Like, if you can get past the first year, you're good, I think. But after a while, it was just like, man, I would just find myself going to the mall, just to get into my normal a little bit. Because it's hard. It's kind of hard to adjust to that. And it sounds weird to say that, but it's kind of hard to adjust to, being in high school. I was like, I don't want to be the smart black girl. I want to be just the smart girl. That's how I was in high school. And then at Fisk, I was just nobody. I didn't stand out as much as I would have, which is a good thing. And because I didn't have everybody looking to me to answer all the questions about Black history, like, oh, tell us about Black history, because everybody. It was just implemented into our curriculum. It was just implemented into our lives. But I don't really have a lot of bad experiences. I think everybody that went to a HBCU can tell you that the financial aid offices, just don't expect anything good there. They'll cash your check quickly, and then when it's time to give you money back, it takes a while. And as far as Howard, the same thing, just being around people. I actually went later. I went as an adult to Howard, and it was just a great experience, and being with my professors and my classmates that were all adults at the time. But financial aid office again, yep, that was the worst thing. And my mom sending me money, and we have no record of that, so that happened a lot. So financial, so I think that was the she would send me like mail, and then you could tell that it was tampered with. So things like that happened, but other than that, I had amazing experiences at both schools.
There's so much truth to your story, and so I will only elaborate particularly from a bad experience perspective. And The story that sits with me is I can remember going to register and having a conversation with my advisor. And I went at about 11 and got there and said, hey, my name is Tonya, I would like to register, just need to have a conversation with my advisor. And she said, oh, honey, go ahead and sit on that couch. So I sat on the couch, and I sat, and I sat, and about an hour went by. And I had a couple people go past me, and I was wondering if any of them were the advisor. And the woman that finally I checked in with when I first got there came by, and she said, oh, honey, you still here? And I said, yeah. She said, oh, Miss Johnson, who you were meeting with, she went to lunch. And so I tell you that because it's just a true story of how you can get caught in the slowness of being in a historical Black college. And so if you decide to go, realize that when you think about going to historical Black college, you need to think about what school is right for me, because in the case of Fisk, like you said, from a party perspective, it maybe isn't there. And so maybe you know that to be true about yourself. I'm not saying that Annette said that about herself. But if you are a person that might get distracted, going to Fisk might be a good idea, right? Because you're in a smaller school where there's not a lot of parties. But if you are a person that can still be in an environment where there's a lot going on, Clark, Morehouse, Spelman would be a possible school for you, or Howard would be another school for you, or Florida A&M. If you're someone who gets frustrated by long processes, be aware that that's transferable across all historical Black colleges, is my experience. And so just know that. What's really good about that, however, if you can navigate the system, and if you can figure it out and be out front and ask questions, it will help create the platform for what you do in life. Because, you know, Tracy was nice enough to mention how I've been able to go to different organizations and open different doors. You learn how to network, you learn how to identify different ways and different angles to approach things through all of that kind of frustration, believe it or not. Because if you give up, then obviously you don't learn it. But if you're able to kind of just keep going and ask the right questions, you can eventually take that on into your life. The one other thing that I'll say that was beneficial or a really good experience for me is was when I was there and now being older and having to tell stories like this about going to historical Black college. So what was a really good experience for me is that I had the opportunity to be in an institution with people that look like me and have that experience, and be able to get an education, and now come back and be able to continue that story and try to cultivate that legacy. I have a son as well that I mentioned, and I'll tell you, my son, both my children were students that were average in the sense of grades, but they had opportunities that allowed them to go to different schools, and my son in particular had two acceptance letters from schools here in Minnesota, and then lo and behold, at the last minute, got an acceptance from Morehouse. And he didn't want to go. Like, he literally put his feet on the ground and said, I don't want to go. And I cried, and I begged him to go, because I knew that it would be a great experience for him to go to Morehouse. And so that's where he is today. And he does not want to come home. He still needs to think about his grades. He's doing okay. But, it's freshman year, right? And I could say, you know what, you need to come home, but I'm deciding that you're going to keep going, because the most important thing to me is I don't necessarily care how you get it done. Like, that's the goal. And so if I am still sitting here and pushing him through, and he doesn't get it done in 4 and he gets done in 5 or 6 like my daughter did, that's okay. At the end of the day, you still kept going, and we need to provide the support for one another. And so I was glad I was able to encourage him to go. I'm glad I'm here to be able to have the honor to encourage all of you to go to historical Black college or to go to college. And the last thing I'll say is I went to grad school at University of St. Thomas, and the University of St. Thomas now has a new program for students of color in particular. It's I think a 2-year college that they built there, so that might be a place where you could start. And so they have focused predominantly on getting individuals of color to go to their school and then transition into the University of St. Thomas for their undergrad or continue on. In my case, I went there for 2 degrees around, did my master's there and then my doctorate degree. So great school. I'm also very proud of it and it being in Minnesota.